Good morning, people. Welcome back to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we've got an absolutely massive show for you guys this morning. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. So on the show this morning, we're going to be bringing you a bit of an update around the Scott McTominay situation. And does it look like Bayern are going to put in a bid? We will be exploring that. We'll also be talking about Marc Cucurella, who has apparently now agreed terms with Manchester United. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the midfield situation, what's going on with Amrabat, Gravenberch, and also what's going on with Højbjerg. We'll also be looking at a surprise inquiry from Chelsea over Jadon Sancho, which has obviously caught me by surprise, but we'll of course talk about that. But as always, do get involved in the comment section, get involved in the live chat. Let me know how you're feeling about everything we discussed, as I do like to see what you guys have to say. Right, let's start off the show with... what should we start with today? Let's start with Cucurella then, shall we? So... obviously, as you all know, Manchester United had an offer rejected by Chelsea yesterday for Marc Cucurella. Now, the terms of this offer were £2 million as a loan fee, plus all of Cucurella's wages covered. 175 grand a week his wages are, which is about £10 million a year. So 2 million loan fee plus 10 million in wages. Chelsea rejected that. Chelsea wants £7 million loan fee, plus his wages covered, which is about total package, let's say £17 million, give or take. Now, Manchester United have yet to go back in with a second offer, but since we spoke last night, Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Manchester United have now reached an agreement in principle with Marc Cucurella on personal terms. He goes on to say that United will now not negotiate for any other left-backs as they want to get the Cucurella deal done with Chelsea as soon as possible. So just to be very, very clear, Manchester United are not going to be going for Ryan Bertrand. They're not going to be going for Marcus Alonso. All of their effort is now being focused on Marc Cucurella. And you know what? I think he is the best option out of everybody. I do. I said this on the show last night. I think Tagliafico could be an interesting option. But I think if we're actually looking at who's going to come in and have a direct impact, I think Cucurella can do. He was incredible for Brighton. Remind yourselves of that. Manchester City wanted him. Chelsea obviously bought him. He's not a bad player. He just had a bad season, and every player at Chelsea had a bad season. So I don't think we can throw him under the bus just yet. It's just the financial bit that we need to get right. It's making sure that we don't give Chelsea too much money for him. He is somebody who doesn't actually play for Chelsea anymore. He sits on the bench. So I don't want to say we're doing them a favour, but we're bringing him to Manchester United. He'd be the starting left back. If he has a really, really good season, he's going to go back there and his stock price is going to be, skyrocketing. So for me, it's about getting the deal right. And I would even go as far as saying that an option to buy should be included in this loan offer, because if he comes to Manchester United and he does really, really well, I think we should have the option to be able to purchase him at the end of it, because it's just frustrating, right? When you bring someone on loan, he's going to play probably every game until Christmas, realistically. Tyrell Malacia and Luke Shaw are out until around December. So Marc Cucurella will probably start every single Premier League game between now and Christmas. Imagine if he comes in and it's unbelievable. And then we have to send him back to Chelsea. That's going to be so frustrating. So I think if there's some sort of loan, not an obligation to buy, but an option to buy, I think that will really, really help our situation going forward. But let me know how you're feeling about Cucurella. I think this will be... he won't be our next signing because there's somebody else who looks like they will be signing today that we'll talk about in a little bit. But I do think that this Cucurella deal will happen. And Laurie Whitwell has been talking a little bit about him, and he says, Marc Cucurella is viewed at Manchester United as a good fit for manager Erik ten Hag's system, and at present he is the number one target. So it seems like that's who we're going to go for. Let's be fair here, right? I know everyone's feeling very negative at the moment. Everyone's feeling pretty down about the state of affairs. Last week we were linked to Ryan Bertrand. Last week it looked like we were getting Ryan Bertrand as a free agent. It's gone from Ryan Bertrand to Marc Cucurella. That is an improvement. I'm not saying we're going to win the league. I'm not saying we're going to win the Champions League. But, I'm relatively happy with Marc Cucurella as the left back until Luke Shaw's back from injury. And you know what? That's why I want the option to buy included. Because imagine if Cucurella comes in and does unbelievable, right? Luke Shaw is quite injury prone these days. He is, isn't he? If you look at Luke Shaw's injury record over the last 8 years or so since he's been here. Obviously, he had that terrible injury, which wasn't his fault. Was it in the Europa League or something? Yeah, he got really, really injured, didn't he? I think he broke his leg or something, didn't he? So yeah, I think having another really, really good left back option is actually quite good for us, because I'm not 100% set on Malacia yet. I think he's okay, but I don't think he's good enough to be starting Premier League matches for Manchester United personally. But let me know in the comment section what you think about the Cucurella deal. Do you agree with me that you don't think Malacia is at this point good enough to be starting in the Premier League? I remember Malacia is still very, very young, so I'm not saying he's not going to ever be good enough, but at this moment in time, I would be a bit concerned if Malacia was our starting left-back for every single game of the season. Like, I don't think he's quite good enough at the moment. I'm just having a look at his injury record. So last season, so in 21-22, he missed 7. So not the season just gone, the season before, Luke Shaw missed 18 matches. The season before that, he missed 18 matches. Yeah, so I mean, he's been missing roughly about 18 matches a season. The only exception was last year, where he only missed 3 games. So that's probably why this injury has come. He probably played way too much football, way more football than his body's used to, and way more football than what he's played over the last 2 or 3 years, because all you have to do is look at his injury record and see that he's missed about 18 to 20 games every season except for last season. So I guess it was kind of going to catch up with us, wasn't it? And obviously I wish him a speedy recovery. I really, really like Luke Shaw. I think he's a quality player, but I do think that Cucurella is a good addition until December. Somebody in the chat is saying that Malacia is better than Cucurella. I mean, do you really think that? Like, as I said, Malacia is still young. I'm not saying he's not ever going to be good enough to start for Manchester United, but I honestly don't think you can say Malacia is better than Cucurella. Like, really? Yeah, I don't think so personally. But obviously, if you think he is, that's up to you. But I'm not going to agree with you on that one. Right, let's move on to the next topic, though. Obviously, do let me know your thoughts on Cucurella. How much do you think would be a fair loan fee? I think £2 million was fair, considering we're going to cover all of his wages. But let me know what you think. Obviously, Chelsea reportedly wants 7 plus all of his wages covered, which seems like a lot. £17 million total package that would be. But they know we're desperate at the end of the day. Chelsea know we're desperate. We have no left back. Malacia is out till December. Luke Shaw is out till December. Alvaro Fernandez looks like he's going to go to Granada on loan. Who do you have? We don't have anybody. Brandon Williams has left the club on loan. Diogo Dalot is the only option, and he's a right back who can play at left back. So clubs know we're desperate, and you know they're gonna milk us as they always do. Right, let's move on to the next story though. There's a bit more coming out about the Marc Cucurella situation here. Fabrizio has just come out in the last couple of minutes saying that Manchester United believe that Marc Cucurella is a perfect opportunity. He's a proven player and is excellent in his position. He goes on to say that Marc Cucurella has always been super professional, even when he hasn't been playing. But Manchester United is a big opportunity, and he has already given his green light to come. So Cucurella's pushing for this move. He really, really wants to come to Manchester United, which is of course important. He wants to play for Erik ten Hag, and I don't want to say he wants to reignite his career because that makes him sound like he's a rubbish player. As I said earlier on in the show, guys, he was unbelievable for Brighton. There was a reason why Chelsea, he's the most expensive left back in Premier League history. Now, I know Chelsea have spent money badly, but they spent that amount of money on him because he was a good player, not just for the sake of it. I know they've wasted money, but yeah, I mean, how much did they pay for him? It was a ridiculous amount of money, wasn't it? They paid 65 million euros for him from Brighton one year ago in August 2022. So, yeah. Anyway, let me know what you think about that one in the comment section. I'll move on to the next part of the show now. Let's talk a little bit about Jadon Sancho. So there's a story coming out this morning from a journalist in the UK saying that Jadon Sancho is among a list of possible attackers Chelsea have discussed bringing in before the window shuts. And then there's another story coming out from a Chelsea outlet saying that apparently Chelsea are currently having boardroom meetings over making a surprise big signing. A couple of other names that were mentioned were people like Felix from Atletico Madrid, Jadon Sancho, and I think Ansu Fati. There was 2 or 3 names on the list. But as soon as I saw the Jadon Sancho links to Chelsea, do you know what? I actually thought that would be a good move for him. He's a boyhood Chelsea fan. Obviously, he's from London, isn't he, Sancho? I don't know. If you'd have asked me a month ago, I'd have said we 100% need to keep Jadon Sancho, give him a chance. But Erik ten Hag doesn't even play him. He gives him 10 minutes at the end of a game. Like, I honestly think that we should cash in on him now. Not because I don't think he's a good enough player. Not because I don't think he's going to go on to be, I don't want to say a world-class player, but a better player than he is now, right? But if Erik ten Hag's not going to play him, what's the point in having a £70 million asset just sat on your bench, depreciating in value? It makes zero sense. So you can question Ten Hag's decisions. Why does he not play him? Why does it not work? But yeah, for me, I would just let him go now. There's no point in having someone worth that amount of money sat on the bench not playing football. It's a waste for the player's career. And when we're literally having to scrape around the back of the sofa to be able to buy Amrabat, we need a new centre-back now because Varane's injured. We need a left back. We need a striker. Like, we need probably 3 or 4 signings, right? Obviously, they're not all going to happen this window, but we're desperate for signings. We're desperate for money. And Jadon Sancho is somebody who you could get a decent amount of money for, I think. I mean, he's still very young, isn't he, Jadon Sancho? He's 23 years of age. So I would, at this point, I would sell him. Not because I don't think he's good enough. Not because I don't think he can go on to be a starting player. I just think that Erik ten Hag just doesn't like him. He must not. Why would he not start him? He's never going to get picked over Antony, is he? Antony is Erik ten Hag's, I don't want to say problem, but Erik ten Hag, agreed, approved the 100 million euros deal for Antony, right? He has to play him. I get that. But what does that mean for Sancho? He's just going to sit on the bench. He's going to sit on the bench for every single game. He's never going to get any game time. His stock price is literally just going down and down and down and down and down and down. Give it another year, another 2 years, he'll be worth literally nothing. And he'll probably go to like Crystal Palace or something. I genuinely think that his career is going in that trajectory. He went from one of the most exciting players in Europe, absolutely tearing up the Bundesliga, unbelievable for Dortmund alongside Erling Haaland in that amazing Dortmund team. He's gone from that to literally at rock bottom. So if Chelsea were genuinely serious about this and they offered us anywhere between, 50 to 70 million pounds, and maybe the Cucurella deal could somehow be, factored into it as well, I would 100% get this deal done. I would, because I just think it's a waste of a player's career to have somebody who was that talented. Obviously, he wasn't Erik ten Hag signing, so remind yourselves of that. Erik ten Hag did not sign Sancho. So I don't want to say he's not his problem, but he has to make Antony work, because you guys in the chat are probably already judging Erik ten Hag about the Antony signing, aren't you? If he then stops playing Antony and puts him on the bench, everybody in this chat is probably going to say, well, that was a terrible signing. He wasted 100 million on somebody and he doesn't even play him. Whereas with Sancho, you can just say, well, he didn't sign him. He clearly didn't like him that much and he's tried to make it work and it hasn't worked. And you kind of, you're not critical about it. So I do get it. But let me know what your thoughts are about Sancho. Greg says, how much do you think Jadon Sancho is worth? I wouldn't accept anything less than £50 million. Plus add-ons. That would be the absolute bottom amount of money. 50 million. We paid, I think, 73 million we paid for Sancho pounds? Yeah, it was 73 million. I mean, anything less than 50 would be a disgrace. I think somewhere around 60 would be fair. If we've just paid 55 million plus add-ons for Mason Mount, I would be expecting at least the same amount of money as that. At least. Because in my opinion, based on actual quality, I wouldn't say that Jadon Sancho is worse than Mason Mount. He's 1 year younger. Yes, he didn't win that Champions League with Chelsea, but I don't think there's any difference between Jadon Sancho and Mason Mount. Obviously, they play in different positions, but quality-wise, I would say they're probably on par, right? Does everybody agree with that? So I wouldn't be selling him for anything less than what we paid Mason Mount for Chelsea. So 55 million plus add-ons, absolute minimum. But let me know what you guys think. Would you entertain this Sancho interest, or do you think he's someone we should keep at Manchester United? I know loads of you in the chat are all spamming, he should start over Antony, Antony's not very good, and all the rest of it. I get it. People are fed up with Antony. People are fed up with Erik ten Hag's selections. They think that, Jadon should get some game time. I 100% agree with you. 1,000% agree with you. I think Jadon Sancho was good in pre-season. I think he deserves a chance. The fact that he's just come off his best pre-season yet, he looked fit, he looked sharp, he was getting goals. He was having a big impact on games. We start the season and he's playing 10 minutes at the end of a game, sorry. He clearly isn't part of the plan. So yeah, I would just get rid of him, I would. But let me know what you guys think. Yeah, I mean, loads of people saying Sancho is way better. Yeah, that's the other thing as well. Thanks, Milis, for mentioning that. The other big issue for us with Jadon Sancho is his salary. I'm sure I've mentioned this on the channel before, but Jadon Sancho is on £350,000 per week, which is £18.5 million per year. So removing that from the wage bill helps you massively. £18.5 million off your wage bill on one player. So even if you only got 50 to 60 million for him, say you got 55, which is what we paid for Mount, you'd be getting 55 million in transfer fee plus an additional 18 million saved in wages per year. So when you look at it like that, yeah, it kind of changes everything, doesn't it? But yeah, let me know what you think about Jadon Sancho in the comment section, everybody. Do you think Manchester United should entertain this interest from Chelsea? Or do you think he should someone who should 100% stay at Manchester United? Let me know your thoughts. I always like to see what you guys have to say. We've got over 1,200 people watching the show this morning, which is amazing. Thank you so much to everybody who is joining us. Please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're only 18 subscribers away from 16,300, so please go and subscribe if you haven't already. It's completely free. We're live every single day, so do get involved in the community here on Daily Red Devil. Right, let's move on with the rest of the show though. Let's talk a little bit. I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show. I usually like to start the show with some positivity, right? So I just want to say a massive, massive big ups to Marcus Rashford, who has won the 2022-23 PFA's Premier League Fans Player of the Year award. So big ups to Rashford on that. Obviously, there was a big awards ceremony last night and Rashford picked up the award. And another Manchester United player did as well. Amad Diallo has won the Championship Fans Player of the Year award as well. So big up to Amad Diallo and big up to Rashford. I cannot wait to see Amad back at Manchester United. I'm really, really excited to see him play. And just to rewind the clock a second, if you did let Jadon Sancho go, right? Hear me out here. You've got Amad Diallo coming back anyway. You've got Pellistri. Our right wing position is so saturated. You've got Anthony number 1, who Ten Hag doesn't ever drop. Okay? You've got a 100 million player who he doesn't ever drop. You've then got Jadon Sancho, who costs 73 million, who he's never going to play. Then you've got Amad and Pellistri, who both, both of them, most of you in the chat would rather see start over Anthony. So if you did let Sancho go, you've got both Amad and Pellistri waiting as the backup. So I think it makes sense. I really, really do. Yeah, big ups to Amad, big ups to Rashford. I cannot wait to see Amad back in the Manchester United shirt. Right, let's move on to the next story though. Let's talk a little bit about Scott McTominay. So we have had a further update on the McTominay situation coming out from James Ducker, who is of course a journalist for The Times in the UK. And James Ducker is saying the following. Manchester United were looking for between 40 to 45 million pounds for Scott McTominay earlier in the summer, but they could potentially accept less at this stage, even if time is running out to bring in reinforcements. He goes on to say that Ten Hag would favour Sofyan Amrabat as the replacement. So what it looks like now is that we need to sell Scott McTominay in order to get Amrabat. That's what's being said this morning. And Fabrizio also said something similar yesterday. He said that Manchester United needed to sell a midfielder in order to bring in a new midfielder. We spoke about this on the show yesterday and I said, well, where's this sale going to come from? Nobody's offering any money for Donny van de Beek. We had a loan offer for Real Sociedad, which we rejected. Nobody's going to buy Donny van de Beek for cash at this point. So how are we going to sell a midfielder in order to buy Amrabat? There isn't an obvious person. The only one is Scott McTominay. Eriksen's obviously not going to go. Casemiro's not going to go. Mason Mount we've just signed. Bruno's not going to go. Kobe Mainoo's not going to go. The only people that are options are Donny van de Beek, who nobody wants to buy, and McTominay. So it has to be McTominay. There isn't any other solution. It has to be McTominay. So, and then we have another story coming out from The Times saying that Scott McTominay is wanted by Bayern Munich. The German club have indicated that they will not pay Manchester United's asking price of 40 to 45 million, but McTominay remains interest to Bayern Munich. So it looks like Manchester United would have to do some sort of deal here with Bayern Munich. And you know what? I think 40 to 45 million is a bit ridiculous for Scott McTominay. I think 35, maybe plus some add-ons, would be a fair price. Obviously, Manchester United rejected a £30 million bid from West Ham a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I don't want to rant on this again, on this bit of the show, because I do this every single show at the moment and I get frustrated about it. But 2 weeks ago, we were told we needed to sell one player to buy Amrabat. We sell Fred, nothing happens. Then we're told we need to sell another player. We sell Matic Kovar for 9 million. Nothing happens. Then we're told we need to sell another player. We sell Noam Emmerich for 1 million. Nothing happens. We've sold 3 players since our last signing. Fred, Noam Emmerich and Matic Kovar. We've raised about 25 to 30 million since we bought Rasmus Højlund. Yet we still haven't bought another player. And now we're being told we need to sell another player in order to buy a player. So I get quite worked up about this, so I'm not going to do it because every time I speak about it, I feel my blood pressure rising. So yeah, I'm glad that everybody in the chat is in agreement on this. It doesn't really make any sense. It's just an excuse not to spend. And yeah, we're not stupid. We all see through it. But let me know in the comment section, guys, how much do you think is a fair price for Scott McTominay? 35, 40? What do you think? I think 40 to 45 is not going to happen. Bayern Munich will not pay that. 30 to 40 is probably more realistic. I think 35. I would do 35 at this stage. That allows you to go and get Amrabat for 20 million. Maybe see if you can get Gravenberch on loan for a season. And then maybe you bring in someone like Marcus Leonardo, the striker from Santos, for around 15 million. That would be all of the money from that would be all of the money from Scott McTominay well spent then. That's what I would personally do. But we'll have to wait and see what Manchester United do. There's a bit of an update here on Harry Maguire as well. So Fabrizio Romano is reporting in the last 48 hours, West Ham have asked again for Harry Maguire in a potential loan deal, but the answers from Manchester United was no. To find a replacement in defence under the financial fair play conditions who would be at United's level was considered too complicated. And you know what? I do agree with that. I think loaning out Harry Maguire would be stupid. Unless they're going to pay all of his wages and give us a loan fee, then maybe you entertain it. But Everton were offering 25% of his wages. So we would have had to pay Harry Maguire about 150 grand a week, and he would have then gone on loan to Everton. Like, that's stupid. It makes zero sense. So I understand why Manchester United have rejected this new interest from West Ham. And we've just got to hope that in the last couple of days of the window, West Ham actually come back in with that £30 million offer that they put in before. Because obviously Manchester United accepted that. They just couldn't agree the payoff terms with Harry Maguire. Now, Fabrizio came out yesterday and said that if West Ham were to offer £30 million again, they would then be willing to pay Harry Maguire what he asked. So their stance has changed now. At this late in the window, they're willing to pay Harry Maguire off. But it's just whether West Ham will offer the money again. And I don't know. I think they probably won't. Obviously, they've just signed somebody else. They've just signed a Greek centre-back, haven't they? They bought James Ward-Prowse. They bought Kudos. They bought Alvarez from Ajax. They bought 3 or 4 really, really good signings, West Ham. So I don't know whether they will be that desperate to sign Harry Maguire again. But let me know what you think about this one in the comment section. Would you loan out Harry Maguire? Would you loan out Harry Maguire? Or do you think it's the sensible option for him to stay at Manchester United? Right, let's move on with the rest of the show, though. Let's keep things moving on the show this morning. So, there's a bit of clarity now about Onana. And this is frustrating, it is. So, this is coming out from James Ducker in The Telegraph, and he is reporting that Manchester United could lose Andre Onana for up to 5 weeks in January if the goalkeeper is recalled by the Cameroon national team for African Cup of Nations. Now, obviously, we all saw the story coming out yesterday that apparently Onana has been recalled for the friendlies for Cameroon against Burundi in September, which obviously sparked interest, let's say, because the African Cup of Nations is 2 months away, 3 months away. Obviously, he's out of the squad at the moment, because I think he fell out with the Cameroon manager, something like that. He has now been recalled to the squad. Obviously, they haven't announced the squad for the African Cup of Nations yet, but if he's part of the friendlies, my understanding is that he would go to the African Cup of Nations, surely. Like, why would he be part of the friendlies and then not go? He's clearly Cameroon's best goalkeeper. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Like, they're definitely going to want to take him, aren't they? Obviously, we are about to bring in a new goalkeeper who we will be talking about in a minute. I don't want to get too worked up about this one, to be honest, because we have to just trust that this new goalkeeper coming in is good enough to be the Manchester United goalkeeper, Altay Bayindir. I've never seen him play football before, so I'm not gonna sit here and say, guys, don't worry, we're in safe hands, because I honestly don't know that. But yeah, let's talk about that really, really quickly then. So obviously, as the video title says, new signing today, we are expecting the announcement of Altay Bayindir, 25 years of age, from Fenerbahce. He's the Turkish national team goalkeeper. He looks decent. He looks like a similar kind of profile to Onana. He's good with his feet. He's good at distribution. He's also good at shot stopping. Had a really good season for Fenerbahce last season. And we are on the brink of signing him for £4 million. And as soon as that deal happens, Dean Henderson will move to Crystal Palace, £20 million, including add-ons. He's already passed his medical, so it's going to be a domino effect. We sign Bayindir, and then we sell Dean Henderson. I think that's a good bit of business, but if we then don't go and spend the money we've made off Dean Henderson on another player, I don't really see the point. Like, you sell what's he called? You sell Dean Henderson for 20 million, including add-ons, right? And then you sell Matis Kovar for 9 million. That's what, 29 million. And then your replacement is a £4 million goalkeeper. What happens with the other £25 million? Where does that go? That's my question. I thought it was a great deal at first. I thought amazing. That 25 million, let's go and buy Amrabat, let's go and buy Marcus Leonardo, let's put that towards Jean-Claire Todibo, etc., etc. But that money just seems to be disappearing. Where's that money gone? Yeah, so I don't know. It's a bit confusing. But let me know in the comment section how you feel about this deal. Right, let's read out a couple of your comments really quickly then. Everybody who's just joined as well, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel. We got over 1,500 people watching this morning, which is amazing. We're only 10 subscribers away from 16,300, so please do go and subscribe if you haven't already. Right, let's move on to the next story though quickly, and I will read out some of your comments in a bit, so if you do have any questions and stuff, get them in the chat, and I will circle back to them in a minute. Right. So we've got a story again coming out from James Ducker this morning saying that Manchester United have not raised as much money as they hoped through sales this summer and are struggling with the limitations of UEFA's new financial sustainability rules. I mean, why are they putting out stories like this 2 days before the window saying that United have not raised as much money as they'd hoped? I mean, whose fault is that? Surely they can only blame themselves. Like, they had an offer for Scott McTominay for 30 million 2 weeks ago. They rejected it. They had an offer from West Ham, which they accepted, but they weren't willing to pay off Harry Maguire. We could have had an extra 50 million pounds in the bank, 60 million pounds in the bank there, but they didn't do it. So it's a little bit strange to be like, oh, they've not raised as much money as they hoped. Well, you could have sold Scott McTominay and you could have sold Harry Maguire, and you didn't. So that's only your fault. It's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's John Murtaugh, Richard Arnold. It's whoever's negotiating these deals is incapable of getting a transfer over the line. And now, we're days away from the window and we're still talking about Scott McTominay leaving. Why did they not just accept that offer 2 weeks ago? It doesn't make any sense. And I just think, you can't put out things like these to the press and try and make the fans feel bad and say, oh yeah, fair enough. They didn't raise as much money as they'd hoped. Oh, it's because of, UEFA's new rules. That's why we're not spending money. We're not spending money because they're incapable of selling anybody, even when we get offers on the table. So I don't buy it for a second. I really, really don't. Scott McTominay's clearly not part of Erik ten Hag's plans. They should have sold him for 30 million. Harry Maguire's clearly not part of Erik ten Hag's plans. Yes, they accepted the 30 million bid, but they should have just paid him off. They should have got rid of him, and they should have brought in somebody else. So I don't buy it. Yeah, I don't buy it. I really, really don't. I think it's just excuses. It's a load of rubbish, and I think it's just a smokescreen for the Glazers not to spend money. The same thing happens every single transfer window. Josh says the Carabao Cup third round draw is at 10:15 tonight and the Champions League draw is tomorrow at 5. Yeah, we will be doing a watch along for the Champions League draw tomorrow. I probably won't do one for the Carabao Cup one, to be honest with you, mate, but I'll definitely do it for the Champions League one. So yeah, if you are around tomorrow, we will be doing a watch along for the Champions League draw. Hopefully we get some good teams. Yeah, let me know in the comment section, guys. Who would you like Manchester United to draw in the Champions League? Obviously, you want us to play good teams, really, don't we? We don't want to be playing against absolute rubbish teams. I would like there to be one big team in there, like a Barcelona, a Bayern Munich, I don't know, someone like that. Let me know who you would like to see. Nigel says, do you think we have all deals lined up and are just waiting to push the button? Talks for Todibo, Amrabat and Gravenberch have been taking place. You know what, Nigel? I actually do. I do. I think stuff is going to happen in the next couple of days. I know I've said that quite a few times, but I genuinely think that stuff is happening behind the scenes, and I think that Sofian Amrabat will happen. I don't know about Jean-Claire Todibo. It all depends on Harry Maguire with that one. If West Ham come back knocking today with a £30 million bid, I would say that yes, Jean-Claire Todibo will happen, but it is dependent on Harry Maguire going. As I've said to you many, many times before, right? Transfers are like a domino. As soon as one domino falls, another, moves into place. It's a domino effect, isn't it? So Scott McTominay goes, we probably then go and sign Amrabat. Harry Maguire goes, we go and sign Jean-Claire Todibo. Either we're sat here on Saturday morning when the window closes and we've signed nobody and nobody's left, which will be absolutely terrible, or we're sat here saying, oh my God, that was crazy. McTominay went, Harry Maguire went. We just have to wait and see, really, don't we? But I think it's pretty safe to say that Cucurella will be coming. It's safe to say that Altay Bayindir will be coming. It's just the other pieces of the puzzle that are yet to be determined. Right, let's move on to the next story, though. Let's talk a little bit about... Let's talk about this story coming out from the Telegraph this morning, saying that Erik ten Hag would also like to recruit another midfielder before Friday's deadline but that situation remains complicated and is likely to depend on Manchester United offloading players. He goes on to say that Scott McTominay has emerged as a late target for Bayern Munich. So we're hearing the same thing over and over again here. We hear it 2 weeks ago. Manchester United need to sell to buy. We sell Fred, nothing happens. We then hear it again. Manchester United need to sell to buy. We sell Matis Kovar for €9 million, who doesn't even play for the team, as you know, in the youth squad. Nothing happens. We sell Noah Emmerich, and we still hear we need to sell to buy. So I don't know. I don't know how much longer I can put up with this whole sell to buy narrative. So do we sell Harry Maguire and then we still need to sell to buy? Like, it doesn't really make much sense to me, and I'm struggling to understand it, and I'm a little bit bored of the ongoing, we need to sell to buy, we need to sell to buy. Andrew says, what would you do if West Ham come in with a £25 million offer for Maguire? I don't know, mate, to be honest. I don't think 25 million's enough for Maguire, because we have to pay off his transfer, his wages. Yeah. I think 30 million is the very bare minimum. 30 million for me. 25 is not good enough. Somebody in the chat saying that the transfer window closes tomorrow. It doesn't. It closes on the 1st of September, 7 p.m. So, yeah. Sorry, 11 p.m. on the 1st of September, the window closes. I was thinking about doing like an all-day stream on Friday. On Friday, on transfer deadline day. Let me know in the comment section what you think about that. Michael says, are you a Manchester United supporter or a statistician? I'm a Manchester United supporter, mate. I don't really know what you mean there, but... Sean says, I think the reason Erik ten Hag isn't playing Sancho isn't based on ability. It's about mindset, the way he applies himself. He's too subdued, passive. He wants players that go out, ball swinging and fight. Yeah, no, I agree with you, mate. I 100% agree. And I will stick up for Erik ten Hag there. Sancho doesn't defend. He doesn't track back. He's not physical. He's not aggressive. Whereas Anthony, I know some of you don't think he's good enough. Some of you think that we shouldn't have spent all that money on him. When Anthony comes on that pitch, every single game, he gives 110%. Not a single one of you can argue with that. He tracks back, he defends, he's aggressive. He has that kind of, that mean streak that I think you need in the Premier League. Whereas Sancho just doesn't. He doesn't have that whatsoever. He gets pushed off the ball. He doesn't chase his runners. He doesn't even really seem to take people on anymore either, which is what a winger should do. So yeah, I do understand when... I do understand why, you know, Sancho doesn't get picked. I'm not slagging off Erik ten Hag for that. It does make sense when you look at it from a tactical perspective, but just from the angle of what's best for the career of the player and what's best for Manchester United in bringing in new people, if he isn't the profile of player that Erik ten Hag wants, he's very different to Anthony. You can see a big difference in their traits, then get rid of him. That's fine. It's no issue, you know? All right, yeah, I'll have a think about the show on Friday. I think it could be good. Voice of Reason says, I'm disappointed with Erik ten Hag for not prioritising a controlling defensive midfielder like Amrabat, especially given the acknowledged risk with Mount playing in a role he never has before. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I do. I think our transfers this window have been pretty suspect. I do. I think Onana was a good signing. I think Mason Mount was suspect. I think Rasmus Højlund, to be honest, like at this moment in time, was a little bit suspect. I do. I hope he goes on to be a good player. Like, he has my full backing. I think he has all of the characteristics to be a good player in the future. But for someone who's only scored 9 goals in his kind of professional career in a proper league and is injured, like, is spending 65 million on him, was that a sensible idea? I'm not sure. I might be completely proved wrong, though. We might be sat here at the end of the season. Rasmus Højlund might be might have scored 30 plus goals and we might have won the Premier League. And everyone will say, well, you said at the beginning of the season you weren't sure about Rasmus Højlund. I'm just being honest, you know. I'm not saying get him out of my club. Why have we done this? Blah blah blah. I'm just saying I'm a little bit unsure, as I think every single person will be in this chat, that you've brought in somebody who's not a proven goal scorer and they've been injured for the first 4 or 5 games, well 3-4 games of the season. That's my obviously concern about it, but it is what it is, isn't it? What we got? Anthony says, personally, I think Erik ten Hag is doing all he can for the club, and I really don't care what others think. I'm backing Erik ten Hag all the way. Yeah, I agree with you, mate, 100%. So, but then you get other people. Roland says, Erik ten Hag has killed all our dreams for this season. I honestly just don't see how people can blame this on Erik ten Hag. I don't. Like, how is this Erik ten Hag's fault? Does he start the day and say, I want Varane to get injured, I want Luke Shaw to get injured? Like, he doesn't, does he? I want Mason Mount to get injured. That's not really how football works, is it? Nigel says, didn't Højlund score 16 goals for Stuttgart? I think you got the wrong player, mate. His first season in a proper league was last year in the Italian league. Before that, he was in I think it was the Danish league, wasn't it? Or the Austrian league. So yeah, his first proper season was last season. King Stash has just put in a super chat. Thank you very much for the contribution, my friend. Really appreciate it. King Stash says Sancho is better on the right and false nine, but he gets played on the left. Sancho is like Jack Grealish, pass first, but it seems like in our system, selfish players like Anthony, Garnacho and Rashford benefit. Yeah, mate, I agree with you 100%. I'm not by any means saying that Sancho's not a good player. I think he is a good player. I think he has the potential to, if he was in that Manchester City side, I think he would do really well. Even if he was at someone like Arsenal, I think he would do really well because they're just a little bit more ahead of us in their current place. Like Manchester United are still playing a little bit gritty, a little bit like, you never know whether we're going to beat someone or get battered. It's not very controlling at this point. If we were controlling a game, then I think Sancho's a great player to have, but we're not really at the moment, are we? But yeah, thank you so much for your contribution, King Stash. I really, really do appreciate it, and I hope you are doing well, mate. Yeah, Mark says he scored 18 goals for Sturm Graz in Austria. Yeah, and I mean, like, we can't really count the Austrian league as a top league, can we? Like, does anybody really think the Austrian league's a top league? Like, name me 5 clubs in the Austrian league. I honestly could probably only name you like 1 or 2, like Vienna, and that's probably about it. King Kevin says, don't you think Amrabat is the most closest player to Frankie de Jong with the qualities Erik ten Hag needed in that position? Mate, I've been saying this all transfer window that I think Amrabat would have been our most important signing out of everybody. More important than Højlund, more important than Onana, and more important than Mason Mount. And I'll stick by that. We've got some breaking news coming out now, guys. This is coming from Samuel Luckhurst, and he is reporting that Dean Henderson's transfer to Crystal Palace is now done. So Dean Henderson is gone. He says the announcement will be made shortly. Dean Henderson, done. He's left the club. £15 million plus add-ons is the reported fee. Great. Let's move on. Let's buy some other people. Let's get on with it. Yeah. But yeah, he's gone. Dean Henderson's gone. That's just been confirmed. It's always nice to get a bit of news like that whilst we're live. I know a lot of you were really, really anti-Dean Henderson. A lot of you really, really wanted him out of the club. And your prayers have been answered. Dean Henderson has now left Manchester United. Right, let's see if we have what we have else left for the show. We've got about 5 minutes left for the show, guys. If you do have any questions, get them in the comment section now, and I will read out a couple before we end the show. So yeah, just to be very, very clear, we should expect to see the official announcement from the club on Dean Henderson later on today. And then as soon as that happens, Altay Bayındır will be announced as a new signing. So I would say that most of today is going to be taken up with this whole goalkeeper thing, which is a bit of a joke, really, isn't it? We should be buying midfielders, centre-backs, strikers, and we're going to be, you know, hyping up a £4 million backup goalkeeper. Like, it kind of shows where our level is at this moment, doesn't it? But it is what it is. We've just got to get on with it. At least Henderson's gone. You know, all transfer window, we were talking about Henderson going out on loan, how stupid it was, loaning him to Nottingham Forest. You know, it doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I guess that's a little bit of a positive, isn't it? That Dean Henderson, we have actually cashed in on. Yeah. Red Army says, Sancho as a false 9 in the Premier League is crazy. I thought he looked all right as a false 9 in pre-season. I mean, I don't think he's good enough to start every single game, but yeah. There's another story I wanted to speak to you guys about as well, actually. So I know a lot of you in the chat were really, really interested in Taremi from Porto. And he was somebody I really, really liked. He was somebody I thought would be quality at Manchester United. He was available for somewhere around 15 million euros. Apparently AC Milan have just put in a bid of 15 million euros to Porto. Now, my question to you is, should Manchester United be looking to hijack this deal? 15 million euros is nothing, is it, in the current market? It's 12 million pounds for somebody who scored, I think, he got 30 goals and assists in the Portuguese league last season, and he got 5 goals in 7 Champions League matches for Porto last year. I would try and hijack this deal. 12 million pounds. That's apparently what AC Milan have bidded, and Porto are now considering this deal. That's what Fabrizio has just reported. Let me know what you think about that one. Just bear in mind, he is 31 years of age, so he is relatively old, but he would be good for a couple of seasons, I think. Right, let's read out a couple of your questions quickly before we wrap up the show. Mila says, how many goals will Højlund score in the first season? I said at the beginning 15 in the Premier League, but let me know in the comment section how many goals will Rasmus Højlund score in the Premier League. Hitman says, who do you think will be our top scorer this season? I don't think Rashford will have the same season. I mean, where have the goals come from so far? Casemiro, Eriksen, Varane, and Bruno. I honestly think that there's not going to be... I'm going to say Rasmus Højlund. I think Højlund will be our top scorer in the Premier League. Lee says, do you manage to track down the David Ornstein story? No, I didn't, mate. I didn't find it. If you've got Twitter, send it to me on Twitter. The URL is just Daily Red Devil. Ken Mitchell says, surely Maguire at 30 million less his wage demand of 12 million, a net loss against his book value, no money to spend. Yeah, I mean, that is the issue with Harry Maguire. Obviously, we spent £80 million on him, so on the asset sheet, he's down as an £80 million asset. If you go and sell him for 30 million, that goes down as a £50 million loss. So maybe they've just decided that actually selling him doesn't actually benefit them at all because it doesn't actually allow them to spend any more money. Whereas people like Dean Henderson, they were from the youth academy. So you get £15 million for Dean Henderson. Some of you in the comment section are saying, that's a joke, we should be getting more. But that counts as 100% profit because he's come through the youth, you know? King Kevin says, there is money available for a new midfielder. It is certain only that we don't know which midfielder is going to come in. We also need another attacking player based on Greenwood's departure. Mate, 100%. We've lost Mason Mount. Obviously, Mason Greenwood's not coming back. We 100% need another attacker. Højlund's injured. Like, it doesn't look very good, does it? So, yeah, I agree with you, mate. We do need to bring in somebody. I think I just said Onana will be our top goal scorer. I meant Rasmus Højlund will be our top goal scorer. My brain's not working yet today. It's still early here. Cut me some slack, everyone. Right, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you so much to everybody who has watched the show this morning. We will, of course, be back live later at 6 p.m. I do go live throughout the day if anything breaks, so do make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. And please do smash a like on the channel on your way out. This has been Daily Red Devil. I've been Kieran, and I'll catch you guys later.